Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And in case you're wondering about this, I went shopping. It's very hot outside, it's very sunny, so I put my sunglasses on. I come back from the shopping, I walked in, and my wife burst out laughing. I said, "What are you laughing at?" And she says, "You look like a 70s, prawn star." an aging 70s prawn star. I was like, "Oh, well, thank you very much." But I thought I looked cool. Anyway, I shall put my proper glasses on because actually I'm finding it hard to look at the screen. So, normal service will be resumed. That's better. Anyway, the point of this video is that Humza Yousaf's Minister for Independence has admitted that the people of Scotland won't vote for independence. So you have this man paid $100,000 a year off the public purse to deliver something to Scotland, which the majority of Scots have many times said they don't want. There is no reason for him to be paid this amount of money to do a job which under no circumstances can he ever succeed at. And he's even admitted that he is doing a job at which he cannot achieve what he's being paid to do. So I think the only honourable thing is for him to resign and for that post to be null and voided and not actually have a Minister for Independence at $100,000 a year that could, I would suggest, be spent perhaps in a hospital or in some social care. Money better well spent than giving it to a man who only has a slightly better chance of getting lobsters and champagne this weekend. So we'll take a look at him, say what he's saying, and see why this man is an utter hypocrite by even sitting in that office and taking that money. Here goes. So yeah, this is quite literally breaking news. As you see here, it says 10:32. It's 10:42 as I'm recording this. So this is literally just hot off the press. So Humza Yousaf's Minister for Independence admits the Scots won't vote for Scexit. Blundering Jamie Hebburn effectively admits the game is up for the SNP as he calls for Devo Max to be the third option on any future referendum on breaking up Britain. In other words, a stronger devolution without going full independence. Because even the SNP know it is unachievable. It will always be unachievable. Because the Scottish economy is so intrinsically linked to the economy of the rest of the United Kingdom. They know that. And the vast majority of Scots know that. And I suspect even people who are pro-independence in principle accept that the reality is it would be a very bad idea. This is why you'll never get that vote to go fully independent. Anyway, the SNP's Minister for Independence, a man who's taking $100,000 a year for nothing, has effectively destroyed the case for separation by saying the party needs to consider the option of further devolution being included on any future referendum. Jamie Hebburn, who's $98,000 a year taxpayer-funded roles plus expenses, so it's going to be way over $100,000. Has caused an outcry. And he was speaking ahead of an SNP convention later this month to discuss a new Scexit strategy. And it comes after Nicola Sturgeon's attempts to force a referendum in October ended in disaster for the party and the wider independence movement. Everything the SNP does ends in disaster. We saw just yesterday another policy gone up in flames, the short-term lets policy. Because nothing they do ever works, because they never think things through. They never look at the consequences. And when they do try and put something through, this one was rejected. I mean, it's almost... It's getting to the point where they are petty. It's like, we don't like the fact that you've got that. We'll bring a law in to stop you enjoying it. Because they're like that. They're Marxists, of course. And Marxists absolutely hate the idea that someone somewhere has got a smile on their face. Anyway, many now believe a separate Scotland is further away than at any point since the SNP first came into power in 2007. That number now appears to include Mr Hebburn himself, following his extraordinary own goal in an interview with the Daily Record. He was asked about the possibility of a deal with Labour to prop up a minority UK government led by Sir Keir Starmer after the next general election. He said the price of SNP supports could be a multi-option referendum and suggested this to political editor Paul Hutchin. There's no way Labour or the Tories will offer independence referendum unless it's the very last thing that they absolutely have to do. And the reason is, for the Tories, they don't want to see the breakup of the Union, because they are, after all, the Conservative and Union Party. That is their full name. But for Labour, they would only probably get into power by dint of having Scottish MPs. If Scotland was independent, you wouldn't have those Labour MPs in Scotland to prop up their numbers. They'd find it very, very difficult to get the majority, certainly not in England. Although I would suggest that if they are going to get an English Labour majority, this is the time to do it, with the way that Rishi Sunak is absolutely destroying the Conservative Party, for whom voting for them is becoming an increasingly unappealing idea, even for Conservative voters. But, you know, that's another matter. Anyway, he said it's something that we need to consider, talking about this sort of Devo Max option. He says, we've discussed that as a prospect in the past, and certainly when there's been the opportunity to acquire additional responsibilities for the Scottish Parliament, we've supported it. Yeah, but there's certain things that must never, ever, ever be handed over to Scotland in terms of power. And I would suggest things like defence must never go. Energy control must never go. These have to be UK-wide. You cannot have Scotland dictating, oh, we're going to have green energy now, we're going to close all the oil fields, we're going to do this, blah, 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 and totally screwing the rest of the United Kingdom. And that won't ever be allowed to happen. So it is, there's no objection, I suppose, to having more powers devolved, provided that they are controlled and limited to the areas of competence. And that, of course, implies that there is any competence in the Scottish Government. And the evidence suggests that there isn't. And I think, actually, we're getting to a point where a majority of Scots are probably thinking it wouldn't be a bad idea to close the Scottish Government, to close the Holyrood down, and go back to having a one-nation Parliament in Westminster. Because the damage that's been done by the SNP from that power base that they've got is incalculable. It's got so bad in the education system, they've removed themselves from world tables because they're so embarrassed by how far down they've fallen. They used to be one of the top countries for education. They're down with the third world level. It is that bad. And even worse is the NHS. I mean, it's just appalling anyway. Anyway, the prospect of Devo Max, essentially more powers for Holyrood, has been around for years, and it's believed Alex Salmond originally wanted a 3-option referendum in 2014. Mr. Hebden said it could be better than the position we're in now, just because it would provide us with a wider variety of fiscal levers to deal with some of the challenges we face in the country. The only trouble is when you have a 3-way referendum, let's say you have 33, 33, 34. Do you go with the 34%er? Because it means that 66% of the people have voted against it. You've got no clear-cut choice. You cannot really have a 3-way referendum. It's got to be binary. It's a yes or no. So what you'd have to do is have 2 referendums. And it is, if you win the Remain in the Union, if that gets it, that's it, it's done. Otherwise, the other option would be independence / Devo Max. And if that side wins, you have another referendum of going Devo Max or independent. It is very, very difficult to do. I mean, it's how do you, unless you could get on the 3 people, if you have the 3 choices, one of them must be a 50% choice. It's got to be the majority choice, 50% plus 1 vote out of the 3. Anything else, status quo. And I don't mean the band. The UK government has said it will not grant another Section 30 order for another referendum less than a decade since Scotland voted 55-45 to stay in the Union. Starmer has also repeatedly ruled out any possibility of a deal with the SNP, with Westminster insiders suggesting he'd be far more likely to agree a deal with the Lib Dems. The Lib Dems would kiss his huge Marxist backside to get into power again. They love it. They are to the Labour Party or the Tory Party at that time what the Greens are to the SNP. They are the little tail wagging the big dog. And if Hamza Yousaf had any balls, he'd just fire the Greens out and go, look, we're 2 years away from an election. Let's just run a minority government and then just get them out. But then where would they get their ideas? Anyway, let's round off there and come up. So I think that's proof, should any be needed, not that I do think should need any more proof, that Jamie Hebden really has a pointless role. He's an expensive luxury that the people of Scotland don't really need to be paying for. You know, cull his role, get rid of him, save $100,000 a year, put it into where it's needed. You know, social care, something like that. Education, That will know. How many textbooks would £100,000 buy? You know. And so do that. Get him out of office. Get him to do this thing, and just close the whole idea down. Independence is a pipe dream, and it's never going to happen. And the longer it goes, the less likely it's going to happen now, simply because the two economies are so closely entwined, and especially in the border regions, because it is absolutely essential for a lot of the companies and trades that run along the border, that they go in and they do work in England, work in Scotland as well. You know, so imagine that they all of a sudden had a difficulty getting across the border. It could put a lot of businesses out of business. Plus, how the hell can Scotland afford all those embassies and defence and all the other things they must have to be recognised as an independent country? Can't afford it. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for listening. If you like what you see here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. Definitely leave a like, that really helps with the algorithm, and we are getting so close to the 5,000. If you haven't yet and you're a regular viewer, do please hit that subscribe button. It really, really helps. Thank you very much. And until next time, stay safe, stay well. Don't go out looking like a 70s prom star. Unless you really want to. Bye.